One of the most exciting parts of my trip to Uruguay this past spring was visiting the Tops Fray Marcos wool mill, the country's largest plant for processing and combing wool. The wools processed at Fray Marcos are exported throughout the world. Three large maps were displayed in the conference room: Turkey, Italy, and China. Turkey is the #1 buyer of their wool. We noticed that China's map was not hanging on the wall, but merely sitting on the floor. The owner commented, "We are mad at China at the moment." We all thought that was funny. The mill is housed in several large buildings similar to aircraft hangars. I immediately noticed the beautiful undulating tile ceilings. It's always exciting to find such outstanding design and architecture within purely functional structures. Large bales of fleece surrounded us, also originating from throughout the world. These bales are the opposite of fluffy and were so tightly bundled that they were as hard as a rock. Every business we visited in Uruguay had a cat or dog. The mill was no exception. This friendly canine was an outstanding tour guide. Each structure was filled with workers operating massive industrial equipment. As we toured, the owner explained that all of the equipment contained within the mill was French, British, and Italian and no longer manufactured. Maintaining the equipment and securing parts is a challenge. All modern equivalents are manufactured in China and are terribly inferior and therefore are not an option. I lost track of the numerous processes needed to produce a final wool top. Machine after machine was washing, scouring, drying, washing some more, and the human labor needed, wow. Some of the fleeces required hand picking, especially those from Peru. They made it quite clear that Peru fleeces are a pain in the neck. Uruguay lacks natural energy resources, and as a result, is a country that has fully embraced green energy options. The mill's owner installed wind turbines to power the plant. Eucalyptus trees, while not native to Uruguay, are grown throughout the country and are burned for fuel. The mill also has an eucalyptus orchard with stacks of firewood piled high. Not all of this wool will become yarn. Industrial use continues to dominate the demand. Wool for yarn will be sent outside Uruguay to be spun, including Franca, Maxima, and Merina from Manos to Uruguay. While in the countryside, we also visited Pedro Santamote, a historic Uruguayan ranch. At one time, it was the largest sheep farm in the world, with more influence on the wool market than the entire country of New Zealand is today. Pedro, a gaucho born on the ranch, treated us to a tour. Translation wasn't needed to understand his love and passion for the ranch and his sadness that its greatness had vanished. The ranch now serves only as a hotel and event center. I thoroughly enjoyed visiting the ranch, especially sitting at the fireside as the large eucalyptus logs burned. The smell was heavenly. The time spent at the mill and ranch reaffirmed what I already knew about our industry and opened my eyes to the labor intensity of the process. When you take into account the cost of the machinery, labor, maintenance, utilities, just as this one plant that cleans and combs the wool, plus someone had to raise and shear the sheep, this wool still needs to be spun, dyed, and divided into small balls, labeled, and so many other expenses. I'm a numbers person. I'm left with the feeling of how inexpensive wool yarn really is. You might also be surprised to learn that the hand knitting industry by nature is quite fragile. A Coast & Clark rep educated me early in my career by pointing out that the production of fibers used for craft is such a small, tiny sliver of the milling industry that it's quite astonishing that in a corporate environment of profitability first, this industry continues to exist. Think about it. Everything from the carpets to the clothing that 8 billion people wear daily is made from fibers spun at a mill, not to mention the countless industrial uses. Couple that with synthetic fibers reducing the need for sheep farms, thus turning former grand ranches into boutique hotels, and you can easily see why we should never take yarn for granted. I firmly believe that there is a time and place for all players within the yarn industry, whether it be low-cost synthetics sold at a discount store or art yarns hand-dyed by individual dyers. But when our industry becomes out of balance, as it has in recent times, alarm bells start going off at the deepest steps, knowing full well, without the larger producers, whether it be Red Heart or Rowan, the industry's fragility is being tested. We cannot stomach seeing another legacy company like Classic Elite Yarns fail. I have grown up in this industry with memories and experiences behind the scenes dating back to the mid-70s. I love it beyond measure and have witnessed both the good times and the bad. You have a choice when you purchase yarn, and I implore you to continue to support the labels that are at the very backbone of this industry. Without them, the survival, including that of my own business, could be quite bleak. The woman in the pink sweater, seen throughout my photos and videos, might have caught your eye. This is Cecilia, who represents the yarn division of Manos de Uruguay. We pretty much just stalked her sweater throughout our tour, and I came home determined to make a pattern so we could have one too. Her sweater was woven, but we were able to capture the essence and recreate it using Manos Cardo wool.